Alrighty, well, what happened last week?
A lot of info dump.
Yeah, perhaps.
We had a long conversation with a zombie spider.
Just
Which
one
admittedly was
zombie
kind of.
spider?
I remember like at least two in a bathhouse, no less.
It was one, but it was also many.
Yeah, and the hybrids.
They are legion, for they are many.
Ye.
Yeah, so you guys got to talk to the Shahiri of the what used to be the city of Winter, and is now staying with your friends, quote, I guess, the builders.
Her after we kind of forced our way in.
Yeah, may have sworn a contract to not speak about what you saw.
These things happen.
But on top of a lot of the information you learned, which I feel like you guys were able to ask a lot of questions that you had been wanting to know the answers to, you guys did make some plans of where to go next.
It was the city of healing, right? That's where the slaves are being sent?
Yeah, that is the closest city to where you are now. That's where, like, anything they find in the tunnels, that's where they're taking it.
And then after that, yeah, that's just a detour on our way to the city of songs.
Correct. And why would you go there?
Because we were told that the remnants of the city of Winters is there. So anything that could have possibly been salvaged from their said cataclysm would be the best place to find out.
Well, other than that, is there any questions or uncertainty?
I don't think so.
No, I'm good on my end.
Yeah, same.
Alrighty. Well, I think we can go ahead and start then. So, if I remember correctly, I had you guys roll d20s for me at the end of last session, and I believe Rainbow is the one that won.
Winning is certainly a term to use.
Dreams of spiders and coming.
Alright, so we will start with Cal's dream sequence. It starts as a nightmare, and it's a nightmare that you have had probably dozens, countless times, probably since as long as you've been out on your own. You see the dolls, all of them naked, blank, and empty, submerged in the water with you. You feel the hands come and pick you up, lifeless, boneless, out of the murk, and they lay you out on the table, and you are soft and vulnerable, and you can still see the lines where they sewed you together after closing your rib cage over the mechanical and biological bits that make up your inner being. Your parents are there leaning over you, and they hold in their hand the bright blue orb that they begin to slowly lower down to fill those seams, to fill you, their soft and perfect girl, into what they want you to be. But then it shifts and it turns upside down, and it's not your parents anymore. It's these Arakai creatures that you've been interacting with for the past few days, but it's still you they have strapped to the table. And the soul they hold aloft, it's still some sort of life form, but it has 8 legs and a mouth, and it's screaming a low, soft, but unmistakable wail as they lower it towards your torso, and as it enters, you feel it writhe inside that empty space. Your mouth is the first thing that splits to become that mockery of mandibles. The 2 spider-like legs eventually find their way out of your shoulder blades, and then you're finally, at last, able to pull yourself kind of crawling away from the table, and you just start running. And that is when your dream ends, and you wake up in the middle of the Arakai tunnels, huddled with the rest of your companions where you all had fallen asleep on your journey towards the City of Healing.
Okay. I would probably wake with a start, and I think my first thought would be to like put my hands over my face to make sure it felt normal, and then look down into my shirt to make sure I didn't have anything like tearing at my ribs.
Yeah, blissfully, you are yourself, exactly how you've always been.
All right, well that's very comforting.
One by one, your companions will come to wakefulness, and ahead of the pack, sort of guarding the 2 tunnel striders that have been sent with you guys, Arjun is also coming to wakefulness. So is there any early morning conversation y'all want to have?
Are we there yet?
Morning. Mish will just like groggily just wake up and just go, morning. Anything interesting happen?
Well, we're not dead, and that's frankly interesting down here.
Yeah, and seem to all be in one piece, thankfully.
That's kind of depressing when the only interesting thing is, hey, we're not dead.
Well, it seems normal to me.
Yeah, count your blessings.
Alrighty. Sorry, I'm still trying to finish dinner.
Quick, vamp.
But yeah, so Arjun will come up to you guys and say, well, we made good time, but we should probably by early this morning come into sight of the city, assuming you guys haven't changed your minds.
Nah.
This seems to be our only chance of at least finding a lead on where our missing Grove Tender is, so kind of hard to pass this one up. Even despite how potentially perilous this will be.
I can get you into this city. In terms of finding out more about this Grove Tender, your best bet is probably to talk to some representatives of the local house. I can see about getting a audience there, but my guess is they'll probably want to talk to you when you just kind of show up.
Understandable. I can't imagine they get too many surface dwellers that show up willingly.
No, I think you guys might be the first.
Wait, really?
Oh, they have tons of surface dwellers, but they're usually the ones bringing them to the city. And more specifically to the Under Labyrinths, where they make them slaves.
Oh. That's pleasant.
So yeah, free-willed, voluntary surface dwellers walking into Aj-Vashaji. I think you are the first.
Hear that, folks? We're trailblazers.
Hooray.
Sweet.
How exciting.
I mean, lucky us, I guess.
So as he begins to saddle up the tunnel striders with their supplies and all, and you guys start heading back down the tunnel, he will continue with that sort of discussion and say, I hope you guys have some thought about, what you intend to trade or what kind of offer you're going to make for them to give you this information.
Does it have to be in our information, or can it be like a physical item, do you think?
Depends on how much it's worth to them, but I'm just trying to put your heads in the right spaces because they're not going to just do this out of the goodness of their hearts.
How caught up are they in the ongoings of the surface world?
I can't say I'm too sure. The City of Healing's pretty reclusive, but I'm sure they have scouts from the drone class that they listen to. I mean, like all of them.
Well, push comes to shove, I can always recount my experience with the Winter Seed to them. Sure, they would find that interesting.
Some of them might. Some of them might be deeply offended. It's hard to tell.
There's once I'd like to go someplace without deeply offending someone.
You picked an unfortunate location for that, Zoan.
Yeah, I did.
Alright, any last minute preparations or like things you want to do at the start of the day before we get to Aj-Vashaji?
How long have we been traveling?
So you traveled a day through the tunnels to sleep, and then this is the first morning since you left.
Okay. Do I get another chance to regain my lost HP?
Yeah, make a charisma save.
Oh, I forgot about.
Hey,
Oh, hey.
were you one level down?
Yeah, I was on the
Okay, well you're full now.
hot diggity dang.
Did anyone else have any remaining negative HP?
I don't think so.
Nope.
Yeah, I think even I was all healed up.
Okay, so you guys have. It took you 4 or so days, but you've finally recovered from that. But nothing else.
I'll cast Mage Armor on myself for the day, but other than that,
Alrighty. Arjun then will eventually lead you through, a number. As with any navigation down here, you have to go through cramped tunnels that lead into open interchanges. At some point, you'll get to a cavern, and there's actually one instance where you don't get too close, but through one of the tunnels that you don't take, you can see the familiar glint of white, and it appears that there's another way into the Whitewood from where you're passing through. But eventually he'll guide you towards the entrance of what appears to be a very, very large open cavern up ahead. And even, I'll say, like the 300 feet away from the end of the tunnel that you are, you can already hear the telltale sound of hundreds of skittering legs up ahead of you that are echoing down the tunnel. And Arjun will just look back at all of you and sort of nod his head in a "we are here" gesture.
Well, this is pleasant.
well, no one said this was going to be easy.
I guess.
Alright, so through the tunnel exit, you enter, as I said, probably one of the largest caverns you've been in. Bigger than Bastille Rock, although smaller than the Whitewood proper. Probably half mile from where you are standing to like the far edge of it, and the roof of it is hundreds of feet up. You see, it's all been mostly cleared out. It's like a nice vacant half dome, except for a couple 100 feet in front of you. Not that far, but a good ways in front of you, you can see a raised sort of like a higher elevated mound. It's vaguely trapezoidal in shape, but all of its edges have been smoothed. You can see tall buildings and towers and stuff up on that raised platform. But what catches your eyes first and immediately demands your attention is this moat all around the elevation. So the ground floor that you're on right now is full of drones. Just tons of Arakai moving about the place. They're sort of wrangling and dealing with the dog-sized and even larger spider guardians you guys have met with previously. And from hearing the noise behind you, you look back, and the far walls of the cavern, the back, are honeycombed out in chambers as far as the eye can see, all the way, like, several rows up. And you can see each one of them is exactly large enough to house a single drone. And there are many of them in these walls, sort of resting, and many others are completely waxed over but have a soul stuck inside and just also seems to be resting. But it
Well,
is
this is pleasant? Mitch will just say as she looks around.
I was gonna say, this is very much the outside of Isengard from the Lord of the Rings movies kind of a vibe.
Get an army of treants.
If you talk to enough grove tenders, maybe.
Step 1, find the grove tender. Step 2, convince her to create tree golems. Step 3, question mark. Step 4, profit.
But Arjun leads you further forward, and to their credit, or perhaps just instinct, the drones don't impede your progress. You guys are almost like Moses in that as you just sort of proceed forward in a gentle walking pace, the drones and all of their flurry of activities just sort of move right around you. They close behind you once you pass, but you're in this like little pocket of empty space as you just travel forward.
I don't know what's weirder, the fact that they have a city, or the fact that we are surrounded by drones and none of them are trying to kill or kidnap us.
Out of character, I can't help but have the very unnerving feeling we're literally just in a Borg cube.
We're in a what?
A Borg cube?
Oh, lovely.
They're just ignoring us, just like in the Borg cube.
Now, is this the pre-Picard Borgs or the post-Picard Borgs? That's the question.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
Please be 7 of 9. Please be 7 of 9.
I mean, we saw those hybrids. Do you really want to see their version of 7 and 9?
Counterpoint, do you really want to be Borg?
Resistance is futile.
That it is.
Okay, well, assuming no one wants to do anything or see anything, you guys will be able to make your way towards sort of the base of this upper rise, and ahead of you you'll see what I like relate is like the steps up to I think it's the Lincoln Memorial in DC, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Just you know, a near endless white, almost sort of marble staircase that just stretches up this rise to where it levels out with the city up above. And you'll see it's flanked on the bottom and along every 10 or so steps by a duo of drones that are just sort of standing guard, honor guard style. Arjun will sort of walk up and nod at the nearest of these guards that just sort of doesn't acknowledge him, but doesn't move to stop him as he begins to ascend the stairs. The two sort of ferret-like creatures that are following him sort of start noodling up after him. He proceeds ahead and allows you guys to follow.
Venali is definitely not going to stray from the path until we have any sort of explicit permission to explore.
So how? So this is like mostly an undead area, right? Given that feeling she got from seeing the first one.
Remind me, do you have a specific blood hunter ability to sense undead?
Well, no, because last session you told me that like that particular creature we talked to gave off feelings of undead, and that it was like something that she could tell right away.
I'm just wanting to make sure if you have an ability or not that I use it.
I mean, it's not really an ability, but more of like a trait.
get advantage on wisdom survival checks to track undead and ability or intelligence checks to recall information about them. Okay. You do not get an immediate sense of undead from the drones all around you. Make a just intelligence check with advantage from your ability.
And you said just a flat intelligence?
Mm-hmm. So you've seen a lot of Arakai now.
Mm-hmm.
The Arakai that you have met, who admittedly, except for the ones in Bastille, have all been drones. The drones are not undead. You've gotten no vibe of them being undead. You watched a drone use necromancy to reanimate some of the spiders before, and you definitely know the Shahiri and its handlers were undead.
But she's not getting any of that from just this.
From the drones around you, no. Now,
Okay.
if I could put this into like your Van Helsing sense kind of a thing, you smell like undead things in this vicinity. The City of Healing definitely has a lot of undead. They're just not visibly present to you.
Okay.
They have a very liberal sense of the word healing.
Question for you, Vinali. Would you have asked that of Arjun? Like, at some point leading up to this?
Honestly, yeah, because Arjun did seem to have a decent sense of what was going on in the bathhouse there, so he might have brought it up. You know, that he had sensed that. What was the name of the one that we spoke to? I can't think all of a sudden.
The Shahiri.
Shahiri. That he had sensed that it was undead.
He would have responded to that it's hard to explain the full process to someone who doesn't understand, hasn't seen it, but I think you'll get the answer you're looking for in the city. The Arakai have well, I translate it to healing for you because that's the closest in our language, but I think a better term for it would be necromancy.
So their way of healing is literally bringing dead back to life in a not quite a resurrecting sense of the way.
It's more akin to, you understand now that cities are founded on a question, yes?
It does seem to be that way, from what I've learned so far.
That city is one of the oldest, second only to blood, and its question, as far as I've been led to believe as a layperson, is what does it take to live forever?
Well, that's something their species and ours has in common. Many people up on the surface have wondered the same thing, often to the detriment of others.
To that pursuit, necromancy and proper medical treatment of the living is not too different in their eyes, really.
Well, as long as they're not hostile brain-devouring undead, I suppose we can abide their peculiarities.
I don't think we have much of a choice.
Well, we do. It would just make things much more difficult without their help.
I mean, we're only 6 people. They've got that's a lot of drones that each of us would have to get through in order to. What would you say? Resolve our grievances?
Well, I wasn't saying to go to war with them. I was just saying for our purposes of closing the portal, it's either seek their assistance or bring an army of our own down with us, which would be much more complicated.
Fair enough.
So you guys crest the rise finally, and become able to see the city properly for the first time. It looks like a twisted version of a college campus where there are a number of buildings and tall towers all arranged sort of centrally around a plaza, in the middle of which is planted a single tree. While not as impressive as, the most you've seen on the surface, MIDI, this would classify pretty easily as a heart tree, although it is winterified, icy, crystals dangling from the blue foliage at its top in a way that reminds you of the white wood. The spires here, and in fact all the buildings, have rounded, smoothed edges such that everything here has a soft, non-geometric sort of vibe to it. You can see bands of webbing strewn between the different high points of this vista. And you can actually see a number of Arakai climbing up these web strands from the top of one tower to a higher point in another balcony, using their spider appendages to sort of cling along these ropes of web, their bodies just sort of dangling underneath. There's probably no more than a dozen buildings here, although they're all substantial and impressive, and you don't see too many people actually moving about. There's definitely a quieter, much more tranquil air up here compared to the flurry of mundane activity directly beneath you. And if you turn back, you can see over the precipice behind you just the swarm of activity, dozens of feet below you.
Seeing all of this, I've got a question, Arjun.
Mm-hmm.
If the Arkai have access to all these drones for their labors and sorts, why do they need surface-dwelling slaves?
That's not a bad question. I think the best way I could answer it is the Arakai, as you might have guessed, are rather hierarchical. Drones do things that viziers don't, and that priests don't, right?
So they kidnap people to fill those positions then?
There are things that the Arakai want done, which are not part of the drone's biologically given functions.
Forgive me if this sounds ignorant, but they seem gifted in craft, so to speak. Couldn't they just, I don't know, change the drone so that they could fill those needs?
I think I have an idea why they need people, and it's kinda effed, so it's probably wrong.
Well, you just told us why you needed people.
Well, no, like another kind of effed reason why they need people.
Whatever you're thinking, I'm sure there's a granularity of truth to it, but to answer your question, Midi, they're working on it, I assume. Different cities have different tasks, and blood is what made the drones in the first place. This is their current incarnation.
Huh.
Back when your people first clashed, they were only viziers.
Fair enough, I guess.
Right, so you guys are in the middle of this relatively nice open space, with like I said, buildings all around you. How would you like to proceed?
I guess the most prudent thing would be to meet with the leaders and gain their permission to actually look around.
So we don't get kicked out before we even start.
I'm
Or
sure they'll have-
unintentionally start some sort of feud.
Yes, I'm sure they'll have areas that they won't want us exploring, so it would be good to establish boundaries.
Oh no, it's a new city. We have to go to the closest tavern.
That is true, but I am curious about if they even have taverns and what sort of drinks they would serve.
I'm not sure I really want to know.
Same.
I definitely don't want to go to a tavern in the City of Blood. That sounds unpleasant.
I don't know if it's alcoholic, I'll give anything a try.
What?
I admire the tenacity.
So you'd like to try and find some sort of leadership?
I think that's the plan.
Alright, can I have, let's do a group investigation check. And I will roll for Arjun because he does not know where that would be. Roll20's feeling nice tonight.
Is it?
Well, the rest of us rolled well.
Alright, so you guys look around for a while and you'll pass by a number of different buildings that all kind of look like you'd be pretty familiar with the aesthetic, Venali, and Melanie, you might have a reminiscence of some of the places you saw back home. places of learning, research institutes. You see libraries. You see what is pretty unmistakably like a sort of arcane research lab, like sort of pseudo wizard tower almost. You guys pass by sort of a sunken amphitheater in one of the places you pass that has probably like half a dozen or so Arakai seated around, watching the display of one uh, garbed in robes down in the middle of this theater, who has one of the large, blind spider creatures that you guys have fought before. You guys watch as he takes a blade and cuts off one of the legs of this creature, which sort of recoils and begins to back away from him. And then he will weave an incantation throughout the air and finish casting this spell. And you see the creature sort of hunch in sort of concentration, and within seconds before your eyes, the leg grows back and touches back down to the ground. But what's concerning is that the severed leg in the Arkai's hand begins to shake as well, and within just a few seconds more than that, it has also grown back another spider. And now there are two separate creatures, perfectly identical, in the middle of this amphitheater. And all the spectators sort of stand up and begin to clap and cheer, reservedly, but they are impressed by this display of sorcery.
I have two very important questions.
Yes.
If they have 8 legs, how do they sit?
The Arakai?
Yes.
Arakai don't have 8 legs.
Fuck, okay.
The Arakai proper are humanoid bodies with 2 human legs and human arms, and they have 4 spider legs growing out of their back, which fold and pick up when they sit.
Okay. Well, that answers my second question, then never mind.
What was the second question?
How many of them they used to clap?
And then they clap with 8 hands.
Yeah.
But eventually you guys find not the tallest building and not the most ornate, but a nice medium-sized place that seems to have another couple of honor guard posted out front, more ornately armed. And after inquiring within, you will find that this is the place where the current educator waits, and he has been expecting you.
Mr. Anderson. Well, I guess there's nothing to it but to proceed forward.
All right, you guys go inside. Arjun sort of asks around in the clicking Arakai language to find out more information, and eventually he'll come back and say, I was right. The educator's preparing to, I'll say, have an audience with you. They used a harsher word, but, yeah.
Why the harsher language?
Well, official terminology. You understand, they don't really have audiences here. It's a place of law.
Wait, what?
So,
How does that make
I-
any?
if I'm to guess, the word was probably something more approximate to interrogation.
Yeah, that might work better. Debriefing, perhaps?
Well, debriefing is a step up from interrogation, so I suppose I'll take it.
Yeah. Still a bit weird though.
As far as I know, it's the educator, and there should be a representative from the local alliances that probably will be there to speak with you as well. Try not to say anything that will get you thrown into the underlabyrinths, and remember our agreement.
Of course.
Of course.
Okay.
Right? You guys are eventually escorted, and Arjun is separated from you. You guys are escorted up some stairs and into sort of a viewing room, like a large, spacious area. There doesn't really appear to be like chairs or any kind of seating or tables. It's just sort of a very sparsely decorated with a couple of load-bearing pillars. But there is a balcony that views out into the plaza. You can see the impressive winter tree from here. Standing there is a very ornately dressed Arakai, and a handsome specimen of his race at that. The human part of him is 8 feet tall. He's probably pushing more like 11 to 12 if you factor in his arachnid legs. He's wearing a deep purple with gold trimming robe that hangs delicately from his frame, and it makes him almost look, for an Arakai, put together, pretty intellectual. There's another shorter, darker figure of his race here with the red tunic, and there is yet another sort of striking the middle point between them, who has white and gold and leathers with a cloak wrapped around, who appears to be sort of wringing his hand in the middle of discussion with the other two. The effect of 3 different voices clicking at each other in unison is disconcerting, to say the least.
Well, I have to say I don't understand a word they're saying.
I would be happy when we don't have to hear that anymore.
All right, you guys, you walking forward? Are you saying anything?
Like Mish is just keeping quiet because if she has this faint suspicion that if she opens her mouth, she'll say something stupid and get them all thrown in jail. Or the equivalent of.
Nolly will just kind of watch for a few moments, and if it seems like there's a break in the conversation, he'll announce their presence, but otherwise he'll just kind of wait patiently, not wanting to make a bad first impression by interrupting them.
Okay, you guys are waiting for a few minutes, and you'll notice they recognize your presence, but they don't stop their what is now more visibly arguing. And they just kind of leave you standing there for a few minutes, and you watch as the Arkai in white begins motioning towards you all while arguing with them, sort of obviously talking about you. The one in red responds and also more violently gestures towards you, and it appears that they're not factoring you in, but they're including you in their arguments.
Did Arjun leave us?
Arjun was not with you.
Okay.
But this sort of back and forth arguing continues for a few minutes before the regal purple Arakai will sort of sort of gesture for a stop to it, look over at you all, and sort of wave a hand and sort of weave and cast a spell. So I need all of you to make intelligence saving throws. Okay. So all of you are briefly washed over with this magic, and for a split second, nothing happens. But then, like a lens shifting properly into place, suddenly the clicking in your ears is replaced with, "And I told you for the last time, we need no assistance from outsiders to attend to our own issues." To which the Arakai in white will respond quite aggressively. "Assistance? Of course not. Who said anything about assistance? We merely need to use their knowledge and carrying on this argument and things like that." The Arakai in purple will sort of clear his throat, is maybe the wrong word to use for their physiology, but he'll make a desisting noise and then say, "Forgive their forgive their lack of manners, guests. We are ready to hear from you now."
Well, I'm not sure how much you already know about our reason for being here. It sounds as though you have some indication.
Well, we would not have agreed to allow you inside the city had not Arjun already made clear what your intentions were.
Well, as you put it, we are willing to provide assistance, use our abilities to enhance your own in this situation. And in return, we do have a couple of issues that you may be able to provide your assistance with.
The Arakai in red sort of throws his human hands up and sort of says to the other two, "See, they already expect a reciprocity. The nerve of these surface dwellers."
I mean, not really. Like, we're not necessarily doing this to get paid. We're just doing this to look for someone.
Ultimately, the task at hand is a mutually beneficial arrangement, but if you can help us find a missing friend of ours, that would certainly be appreciated.
There's sort of a tense stare between white and red as they just sort of glare each other down, but the main Arakai will sort of consider for a second and say, "You have misplaced a surface dweller in the tunnels, I take it?"
Yeah, that's the consensus that we've had so far. And we were hoping that we would find her, or failing that, find someone who knows of her.
I see. Well, speak nothing of arrangements we will speak nothing of arrangements quite yet, but I can tell you that anyone we have found within the tunnels has been duly processed by our laws. If she is here, she is here. She perhaps may have been relegated to the labyrinths beneath. We can make inquiries.
Okay.
What has befallen her that you have come to search? I can't say that any surface dwellers have had such treatment before.
Venali will be a bit hesitant to bring up who and what she is, given what he knows about them. We'll just say she has a important role on the surface that needs fulfilling, and it would be easier to bring her back than to replace her.
If she was someone of such import, why was she allowed to travel to where she was not legally allowed to set foot? That seems irresponsible on the part of her keepers.
It's a conflict of our differing ways that she does not have keepers in the sense that you have in your culture.
I see, so this was an error of her own making then.
Yes.
That is rare, and something of a unique preoccupation of your kind, I have come to understand.
Yeah, we like to get ourselves into trouble.
Well, as I have said, we will, as you are currently being treated as a guest and currently have done nothing to earn active mistrust, we will make inquiries into if we have processed this individual you seek without any strings or need for negotiation attached. Although you understand if she has been convicted of a crime that any sort of penalties must be met or paid out before she will be released.
Of
I mean,
course.
that's to be expected.
These are your lands. We wouldn't expect preferential treatment.
Putting that. Oh, go ahead.
If they were to be convicted of a crime, depending on the severity of it, could the penalties be deferred to, say, a barter of sorts?
It is not typical that we deal with barter or how do I say this? We do not typically negotiate on penalties and punishments, but given the circumstances, there's a chance, perhaps, that there will be a way of satisfying her charges while still respecting the cultural importance that she apparently has within your society.
Thank you for that.
You must understand, from our perspective, we have no idea if the stowaways we find in our tunnels are drones or viziers. We simply capture all that we find.
Mitty's gonna kind of cringe a bit at that.
putting that dry business aside, my companions here have been. How do I say this? My companions here have been taking up my office the entire day, speaking of your apparent desire to close the demonic rift. Might you have words with me on this?
Of course, that is our primary reason for being here.
Yes, we were sent to this region in order to track down a portal with which demons have been coming from and hassling some of the surface dwellers. Normally, in these cases, if one were to be found in this part of the world, it would have been handled by the Zoan tribes. But if it's coming from down here, well, and if how this went about is as it seems, then it is understanding that this is a more complicated series of events.
You have been informed, I take it, then, that the. Look up the proper term because I'm forgetting it. Okay, sorry. You have been informed, then, I take it, that Aj Kalexi has fallen to the rift?
That is correct.
Yes, then I believe no explanations further are needed to explain why our people have found resolving this issue to be such a difficult impasse.
Yes.
It seems as though the demons have become a bit more intelligent, that they are able to create such a sizable portal and also feed their own forces in its own creation.
Well, I imagine the portal didn't start off that big.
That is a good point. It may have started smaller and grown to that capacity, but it must have happened very quickly to have not been dealt with first.
Yeah, the Arakai will share a few looks between each other, and then the one in white will respond, when rifts open, they consume that which is immediately around them to sustain and feed themselves. Unfortunately, this one opened in the middle of the city and, as you said, within minutes had consumed all of it.
Not that it's immediately relevant to the business of closing it, but do you suppose that this was an intentional placement, or that it was pure happenstance that it happened to be in the middle of the city?
Unfortunately, I am not equipped to answer. I do believe that our best experts from Ajdahaji have been looking into that very troubling predicament. Our best information, as far as I understand, is that they have been, over the centuries that demons have been attempting to hone in on where they can open their rifts to best protect them. And this was maybe a matter of succeeding far beyond their intended outcome.
So possible, but not necessarily likely to be replicated again in the near future with other cities.
I believe archery is a metaphor that both our peoples will understand. That was a question.
Yes.
Sorry, what was that?
Could he use archery as a metaphor that you will understand?
I believe I understand what you're getting at, that one arrow may not necessarily be precise, but 1,000 arrows will hit the target.
Yes, they have been attempting to improve their accuracy over time. Perhaps they tried their latest technique and hit a bullseye without truly intending to.
Well, for now, the business is most important of closing this up so they don't continue to, well, assault your forces and harass those on the surface as well. But perhaps something can be arranged for our continued assistance to see that this isn't replicated.
There's another pause and sharing of looks at between the three of them, and then in the first act of unison you've seen between all three of them, they will all look at you and respond in a completely equal syllabic voice between all three of them. We will make no long-term arrangements with the surface dwellers.
Understandable. You haven't had, well, neither one of us have had the best of arrangements with one another for quite some time.
The Red Arakai will specifically be looking at you, Midi, as he says, "No, and one not even need look too far into the past to find instances of such."
Yes, there is quite a bit of bad blood between our people, unfortunately.
The head Arakai will kind of wring his hands out and seem affect a slightly wearier posture, and he will say, "Therein does lie perhaps the core of the issue. Was our people, as much as you can call them one people, are divided on how best to address the issue of this rift."
Mitty will cock an eyebrow at that. What do you mean divided?
Well, Mr. Gerhazi here is a representative from the City of Blood and has just been stating the opinion before you entered that our current strategy of isolating the rift is most effective.
That's a solid strategy, starve them out. But, however, that seems to have caused a few, we'll say, scouting parties to reach the surface and search for a new source of food. As it stands, that strategy will only last for so long. Eventually, they'll find themselves a new route.
Or they'll make themselves a new portal.
That too.
Yeah, there's some muttering between a few of them, but the one in red will say, "It can be difficult to coordinate exact locations between Ajerasai and the surface, but whereabouts would you say these surface attacks have been?"
I'll give a rough approximation, trying to keep in mind they probably don't have a super familiar understanding.
Mitty will follow up with towards the borders of the Zoan lands.
He will nod and turn to the other Arakai and say, "Sirs, I see this as proof that our strategy is effective. They are having to range so far to find viable souls to feast upon. It's either the White Wood or to these surface dwellers. I think this strategy will work given enough time.
If I may interject here, desperation can cause some unique ingeniouses when it comes to war, and while they might have, while it might seem this new feasting trail may seem slow now, given time, they will easily find a way to speed up the process.
Also, my friend Midi here, whether intentionally or not, raises a very interesting point that if they are desperate for food and they are indeed they do have access to the Whitewood, then there is a particularly large soul there that they may eventually figure out how to consume, and God help us if they figure out how to do that.
Or they could feed it.
You speak of what lies at the center of the Whitewood.
Oh, yes, we are more than familiar with it.
Interesting. I take it that you've seen something more recently than we have. Have the builders shared a concern with you?
Not necessarily. We
sort of stumbled into it on accident, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, up until now, I can assure you our kind has used the Whitewood to great effect as a... how do I say it? As both bait and trap for demons when they have invaded previously. They are rather invariably drawn to it, given the prize at its core, as you've just alluded to, and it has thus far proven very effective at destroying those that wander within.
Do you not fear that such a bait will make the problem in the Whitewood grow more dire?
Perhaps there is a limitation of this spell. How so do you mean problem?
Well, consider what you said earlier about archery. Enough arrows thrown into those woods, eventually one of them will hit their mark. And this is a much larger force of demons than you've been using to trap previously.
That, and there's as the builders had informed us, that they are trying to make sure that nothing gets swallowed up by there currently, as it's the range of the Whitewood seems to be growing. As we had discovered, it seems that part of the seal has broken, and on our way towards its core, we noticed that, well, the other seals don't have long.
There's some there's a heavy silence that follows that for a bit, and the Arakai in white and gold will kind of curse and say, would only that the City of Winters were still with us. They would need to know this information, surely.
We were told that oh, now I'm going to forget what the city is.
The one in this place?
The City of Songs?
City of Songs, yeah. We were told that in the City of Songs, I'm not sure what the name of it is in your tongue, but that some of the information previously gathered in the City of Winters stored there?
Here, while I'm doing it. Those are all of the cities of Azurisai.
Good to know.
Sorry, could you repeat the last thing you said?
We were told that in the City of Song that the information gathered by the City of Winter is kept there.
The city of Song was founded upon the grounds of the last city. Anything that survived the change would surely have been kept, although how much I cannot say.
There may be some information of use to us there.
Yes, that's certainly a possibility. We were hoping we could possibly be permitted access there. I don't know if Arjun had informed you, but we had made contact with the being at the center of the forest.
Made direct contact with the fallen divinity?
This is correct.
Well, I dare say the city of Song would welcome your testimony just by that virtue alone.
It is good news, then.
You will find, surface dwellers, that an easy way to secure invitation to one of our many cities is to appeal to its owners with the knowledge they directly seek.
There is a simple logic in that.
Well, you must forgive me for some slight confusion. I understand this concern over the White Wood, and I understand your desire to close the rift, given that it has begun to affect your peoples. And he'll pause, probably for a few moments before he'll say, unfortunate result of our current strategy, but how do these things connect in your minds? Because it appears to me that you are playing at two separate agendas.
The concern with the White Woods is more of a personal matter. Our primary objective is the closure of this demonic rift.
Well, as things stand at the moment, and the Archian White will pick up and say, short of a direct order from one of the Shahiri, as it stands, none of the cities are prepared to launch a full-scale assault on the rift.
Not without a sound strategy, I imagine.
Not so long as the chief military occupants of our people are convinced that their current plan is working.
If you would permit me to ask, and I hope this doesn't come across as rude, are you at least preparing in case the unthinkable were to happen?
The Archian Purple will say, our city remains, as always, prepared for its own defense, as we have been since the day it founded. More than that, and I am not sure that you fully understand the nature of our existence here.
Unfortunately, I am ignorant to your ways. It was not too long ago where I believed that the archive proper with drones, as they were the only ones I had ever come in contact with.
You see the Archaean White kind of like takes a few steps closer to you and says, "Now, really, now that is just truly fascinating. You had no understanding of something more developed down here."
There seems to have been a lacking in the teachings of when I was part of the tribes.
Not strictly a Zoan problem either. I imagine the information of your society down here, if it is known at all, is very well kept secret on the surface.
There is a brief exchange of once again that you guys do not understand between the three of them, but there is an easy to pick up body language of being pleased between the three of
Oh
them.
yeah, I would imagine.
Smug bastard.
But then they return to addressing you, and they will say, the one in purple will lead. Beyond searching for this missing individual of yours and allowing you to pass through our territory en route to forgetting it myself, Aj Navashi, what is there anything else you would have of us? I'm afraid that we are not about to defy our elders from the City of Blood and launch an assault on the Rift ourselves. 'Tis not exactly our way.
Well, if your assessment is correct that the City of Song would welcome my friend here's testimony about his experience in the Whitewood, then that settles a primary concern. Hopefully, we'll be able to get back with you with information from there about how we may be able to close this portal permanently.
Yeah, the Archine Red will say, I will take these the information you have provided us to my superiors in Taraji to see they will consider it under advisement. For the meantime, though, I would not expect overmuch.
It's understandable, as you've said. You seem to have a working strategy, and there's a saying on the surface: why fix what isn't broken?
I'm merely concerned that this is a cancer that is growing undetected, and, well, I hope that it doesn't lead to a situation that the only resolution is far too late.
Well, oh, brave surface dweller, if you would personally convince the Shahiri of one of our cities to sponsor the assault themselves, then that is all that needs doing. The problem is that no Shahiri has stepped forward to do so.
I see. Would you... Would there be any Shahiri that may be teetering towards the idea of an assault?
Three of them will consider that for a minute, and they'll say, the Shahiri of the Dahaji has been truly interested in taking this as an opportunity for study. They are full of rank infernalists in that city, so you'll understand their interest. To close it, I think, would be a different proposition for them altogether, however.
Yes, I could see that being a conflict of interest.
White, the oh god, the Arakai and White will say, um, normally the Shahiri of Blood would be the first to launch such an assault, but they are who has been reassuring our people for the past many moons that they have the situation under control. To which the one in red will respond, and we do have it under control. This information does not prove otherwise.
And it does prove that they are able to find other food sources. You're not going to starve them out.
How many souls does your people account for in this pass of yours? Some few dozen?
For now, but if the portal doesn't close, I assure you the armies of an entire continent will be marching across that border.
It takes only one scout to bring word, and an entire army will soon follow.
Unfortunately, our word won't count for much on the surface. If we are to inform them that there is a massive portal down here, they will not care whose territory they have to cross to get here and close it.
Yes, ever.
Make me an intimidation check, Azur, with advantage, because the two of you are kind of working together on that.
Alright.
There's a quick flurry of clicks between primarily the Arakai in purple and in red. And the one in red will respond, this is the first we have heard of any such army of caliber on the lands above. He'll kind of glare at you, Midi, and say, your people have raised no such force. Our scouts have assured us of this as of recent moons.
Ah, I see. Unfortunately, I am not a member of the tribes anymore, so they are not the people that I am speaking for here.
What foul developments have occurred on the surface then to bring another force so as large as you speak in such close proximity to your former people's sacred lands?
Well, as far as I can tell, the tribes don't see the colonials as much of a threat, but if I were to give my honest opinion, they're making a mistake in that regard.
You see Purple kind of wave his hands again, and can you make another int save, Drew?
Okay.
Oh, geez. Wow. For this entire time, all of you have benefited from whatever magic this Arakai cast. It's been allowing you guys to converse. You're not sure exactly how, because they've demonstrated they can still talk to each other to where you can't understand, but somehow meaning is getting across between you guys, mostly in your head. For a moment, you feel an attempt to delve deeper at the meaning of what you just said, Midi, and you don't know if it's good training or just your natural aptitude, but you are able to harden your mentality enough that probe is not able to penetrate your thoughts. The purple archive sort of seems taken aback and sort of retracts one of its hands, and it will say, further explain that point, colonials.
Yes. Well, he'll look at Venali. The outsiders come from a land across the sea. They are looking towards this land to expand their domain. While currently a small footholds have been made, they are growing at a unpredictable rate. I believe that the tribes, well, they should look towards this as a sign to either make a decision on these new intruder to the land, whether they will welcome them or drive them out is to be seen. However, well, it's only a matter of time before a force arrives large enough to actually give them concern.
There's
the reason. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. Sorry.
Part of the reason we came down here to deal with this portal in the first place is to try to prevent a war from starting. Trust me when I say there are people on my continent that will march an army across if they feel we are not getting the job done quickly enough.
In recent cycles, we have found many more individuals like this one. They will say, and they will point at you, Melanie. They'll say, in our drones' ventures under the surface, especially to the east, they have been bringing back more and more like that individual into our slave pens, and we did not fully understand the reason why. Things are becoming clearer now.
Yes, the current political climate on the surface is. Oh, what's the word?
Spicy.
Yes, spicy.
Both of them will turn to the Archaean White and say, well, your Prosperitas might have need of these events come sooner or later. You would do well to inform your masters to research the phenomenon. He will nod and sort of look contemplative, and all of you heard Prosperitas, but to Venali, and I don't know if anyone else speaks Ancient Tethian, that word is in like perfect Tethian. That's what they said.
Is ancient and old the same thing?
Yeah, same thing.
So yeah, I understood it. So what was that term that they used?
It's a title. It's called Prosperitas, but you know in Tethian that it means prosperity.
And in what context was it used as?
To the Archaean White, the other two said, your Prosperitas would have need of that information. You should inform your masters.
Oh.
That was directed to the one in red?
To the one in white.
Oh, the one, okay.
So it'd be fairly reasonable to infer that This is a title of someone who is perhaps in charge of the prosperity of the city.
You could infer that. You wouldn't know specifically.
Yeah.
It's
You mean
a
I don't have intimate knowledge of the workings of their culture yet? I've been here for 3 days.
from what you have gathered, they have plenty of titles and official terminologies in their culture. None of them being Old Tethian.
Oh, yes, that actually would be curious.
But the leading Arakai in purple will sort of clap his human hands together and say, well, this has been a beneficial exchange on all accounts, I believe I can say. Although I think it is time that we see to your misplaced surface dweller. Shall we?
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, we will have someone lead you down to the information center below. They will be able to account for any individuals that we have detained, physical characteristics, or anything you can provide will assist in locating them.
Out of character, did we get a good description of what, crap, I forgot her name. Was it Minerva Stormsong or something?
Storm Singer is the surname.
Okay.
Well, surname. You know, because you're the same thing as those are honor titles. You earn those.
Yeah.
But officially, no, I don't think you have. And in terms of the game's run, no one asked.
In hindsight, that's probably something we should have asked, but, kind of wasn't expecting a sprawling underground society.
Could we spend a story point to have that knowledge retroactively?
Yeah, in fact, you could. It would give me a story point.
How do y'all feel about that?
I feel like we need that.
Okay.
I feel like that's a risk we're going to need to take. Because
As
depending on,
opposed to just going there and saying, "Do you have a Zoan?"
do you have a female bear?
She
They're like,
seems
yeah,
like
we've got millions of them, actually. Could you line them all up down this hallway?
That wouldn't even help us because we don't have anybody that knew her before.
Exactly.
Okay, so we'll consider that story point spent. And at some point during your travels with Nola, you would have asked her about what her master supposedly was like. You will get, notably, she was not a bear, she was not Ursa, she was Raptra, so a harpy.
Oh, really? Okay.
So
really would have been fucked.
Yeah.
she's got red hair, although it trends more towards like feathers with that tribe. Green eyes, hard to give too much more than that, besides the fact that she was a very accomplished grove tender. And I think you were told at one point that like her specialty was with lightning and storm calling, that she could just will the weather to change around her.
Okay.
But yeah, so you guys are, unless you have further questions or objections, the one in purple said you may find the information desk below, and the doors behind you are unlocked.
Unless anybody else has anything, Vinali will, I guess, bow respectfully. He doesn't know if that is the thing in their culture, but we'll do so anyway and turn to leave.
Mitty will hold out a paw in the gesture for a shake.
Purple and red look on, like seemingly uncertain of what to do. But the one in white will click forward 4 resounding times, like on the floor, and sort of reach out his human hand to take yours and say, "It was most enlightening discussing with you, Zoan."
Yes, the pleasure is all mine. I have learned quite a lot about what I was previously ignorant of.
Yes, your, I believe you call it cradle. Your home is most replete with sun and vegetation and many things beautiful and wonderful, but ours is replete with food for the mind.
One wonders if there weren't such bad blood between our species, what beautiful things we could accomplish together.
He'll retract his hand and sort of ponder that for a minute and say, if all things go according to plan and give or take a few centuries, mayhaps a city shall eventually found on that principle.
The hope for a better future is one that I think all can share.
Well, hold out hope, or I should say, don't hope too hard, I guess is what he'll say.
Polite way of saying, don't hold your breath.
But he will go back to join the other two, and then they sort of resume speaking. The one in red, who you gathered was representative from Aj Taraji, is still kind of angrily bickering back and forth with the other two. But you guys are dismissed, allowed to go down to the lower floors, and hopefully find your missing Grove Tender.
Sweet.
Well, and Mitchell just inadvertently just switched to Elvin when she says this, and she'll just say, "Well, that went well."
In Elvish, Vinali will reply, certainly could have gone worse.
Yeah.
What did you say?
What? Me? And Mitchell just point to herself.
Yeah.
Oh, I just said that could have gone better. That could have gone worse.
Oh. Why didn't you just say that in a language we all understood?
I did. Wait. Oh, crap. I slipped into a different language, didn't I? My bad.
You feeling okay?
It's being underground all the time. It's kind of getting to me, I think.
Yeah, imagine being forced to live there forever.
Yeah, I'm not used to it.
We don't have to imagine. We just have to wait another few sessions.
Ah.
Alright, so at that point, if you guys want, we can go ahead and take our break.
Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds
Okey-doke.
good to me.